they tie a can to a union man, sit down, sit down. When they make a pact to take him back, sit down, sit down. Sit down, take a seat. Sit down and rest your feet. Sit down, you got 'em beat. Sit down, sit down. When they smile and say no raise in pay, sit down, sit down. When you need the boss to come across, sit down, sit down. Sit down, keep your seat. Sit down and rest your feet. Sit down, you got 'em beat. Sit down, sit down. When your feet are numb, just twiddle your thumb. Sit down, sit down. When you need 'em to know they gotta go slow, sit down, sit down. Sit down, keep your seat. Sit down and rest your feet. Sit down, you got 'em beat. Sit down, sit down. If the boss won't talk, don't take a walk. Just sit down, sit down. When the boss sees that, he'll want to chat. Sit down, sit down. Sit down, keep your seat. Sit down and rest your feet. Sit down, you got 'em beat. Sit down, sit down. Sit down. Sit down. Hey folks, my name is Chris Buhalis. I'll be emceeing tonight. Welcome to the 92nd annual Buck Dinner. It was founded in 1929 by Ernie Goodman and Maurice Sugar, the man who wrote that last song, Sit Down, which was the anthem of the 1937 sit-down strikes. There's a lot of stuff going on tonight. We got a lot of great people here involved. We got a lot of great music. And so I'm going to turn it over right now. I would like to turn it over to someone who needs no introduction at the Buck Dinner, our representative, Rashida Tlaib.
Hey, Buck Dinner family. It's Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib. Congratulations on 92 years of kicking ass on social justice and some of the most powerful human rights movements. Thank you. Thank you for not only always having our back, many of our community folks, that sometimes our heads go down and we just feel completely defeated. And then there you all are, all the donors, the volunteers, the supporters, funding our movement work. I know when I was a Michigan State representative, you all were one of the few that stood up with me against Matty Maroon and the injustice of allowing 10,000 trucks come rumbling through our neighborhoods, our schools, our parks, and the illegal taking of a park, our public park and the riverfront. And so you all helped launch with Bridge Watch Detroit, We Have a Right to Breathe campaign, and I will never forget that. And you also continue, now that I'm a United States Congresswoman, to ensure that water becomes a human right in our country, that we are birthing that movement right here in Detroit. And thank you. Thank you for your recent push to supporting Black-led movement work around Black Lives Matter. That uprising right now in our country needs as much support as possible. Structural racism has always existed, but now there is momentum. There is a movement that we all need to get behind. It is so painful and so hurtful that so many of our neighbors continue to be left behind, continue to be dehumanized in policy and many actions by our own government. So thank you. Thank you for, again, always having our back and having the courage to do it. It all so much inspires me to continue to work hard in Congress, even when it's so difficult, not only the last 4 years, but even before that, the normalization of that hurt and that pain. But you're always there, again, pulling our chins up. So I thank you all so much deeply for this amazing, incredible funding initiative that really does make a difference in changing people's lives in a meaningful way. Thank you.
Soup, they gave me a bowl of soup. Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. I'm Tony Paris from the Sugar Law Center for Economic and Social Justice. I'm here with some friends of mine. Maurice Sugar, Maurice Sugar's hat, The Plague, Dean Robb, and Lenny Sinclair, next to my heart. I really appreciate you all tuning in to this very weird and unprecedented virtual Buck Dinner. I'm speaking with deepest thanks and on behalf of our director John Philo, Tanya Myers-Phillips, Shannon Stuckey, and all of our countless interns, fellows, and supporters who have really made all the work you're about to hear about possible. As you can imagine, with unprecedented unemployment insurance filings, the Sugar Law Center has been on the front lines now for almost a year on different worker inquiries, intakes, hearings, appeals, and countless folks who found themselves completely troubled by a system that was programmed to deter and deny them from accepting benefits. Sugar Law does this not only on a micro level, hearing by hearing, but on a macro level, where we continue to challenge Michigan's unemployment insurance system in federal court. Additionally, we have our equitable development and community benefits work run by Tanya Myers-Phillips. This work primarily focuses on this notion that the neighborhoods themselves should be included and have a stake and raise up in any developments that occur. We filed suit against Amazon. Sugar Law Center was the first to file a lawsuit in the state of Michigan on behalf of workers who contracted COVID due to their employer's failure to observe reasonable health and safety practices. This involves 20 immigrant workers who were misclassified as independent contractors and performed cleanup and contracted COVID because of their employer's utter disregard for what everybody was going through. In addition to that, we have filed 8 Section 7 NLRB complaints on behalf of workers who during this pandemic concerted together with one another to improve working conditions. That work is important in the fact that although these workers are not in a union, and some of them are in the retail and service industry, they are struggling every single day to talk to one another about improving working conditions and fighting back at the weird threat being presented to everyone that's either go back to work or die for the economy. Last but not least, in addition to all of the COVID issues that are going around, we continue to do all the work that we've always done with your support. Your support in the Buck Dinner is a big reason of why we're continuing to be able to do what we do. And I really thank you all for not only attending this event, but any donations that you can make, your support over the years, and your knowledge that Sugar Law Center will be on the front lines and the canary in the coal mine of what worker rights issues are.
That was Tony Paris from the Sugar Law Center. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Rashida. One tradition at the Buck Dinner is called Transitions, where we have a slideshow to show you now. It basically, we've lost some people over the last couple of years, and since we weren't able to gather in person last year, we have 2 years worth of transitions to show you right now in slideshow form. And these are people who have left us, and also people who have joined us, and people who have celebrated big birthdays and things like that. So this is a celebration of those who've gone before us. Transitions.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Heenan. I'm a co-headhunter with my partner, Buck Davis, for many, many years now. And I'm here to tell you about our friend, Crazy Charlie. Charlie was a man of great integrity, generosity, and radical as hell. It was almost exactly a year ago, as I make this recording, that Charlie called us up and told us that he was dying. In fact, the lunch that we had a few days later was our last social outing before the COVID lockdown and before we unfortunately, but wisely, I think, had to cancel last year's Buck dinner. But Charlie didn't call us to invite us to lunch. Charlie called because he had inherited some money recently and he thought he only had a few days to live. His friend Sam was helping him revise his will, and he wanted our opinion about who he should leave his money to. He wanted to make sure that it would be used in the fight of his life, the fight for social and economic justice, for racial equality, and for peace and all good stuff. And we told him about the Buck dinner, and he said that was exactly what he was looking for. And it turns out, several months later, after Charlie did pass in April, the Buck dinner received a very generous donation from Charlie Tassinere. So we want to use that opportunity, although we hope all of you will be with us for a very long time to come. We want to use this opportunity to set forth Charlie as an example and to ask you to consider a donation to the Buck dinner in your will or your trust, or there are ways you can make a gift from your IRA. You can give us stock so that you can avoid capital gains taxes. There are a number of various options, and they are laid out in more detail in the legacy section of the buckdinner.org website. I hope you'll consider following Charlie's example. Thank you. And happy Buck dinner, everyone.
All right, folks. Thank you, Cynthia and Crazy Charlie. Although I don't know how they quantify Crazy Charlie these days. In light of the last 5 years, I'm not sure you get to use that name anymore. But I would like to remind everyone that the Buck dinner is a fundraising dinner. This is a fundraiser that helps so many people in our community who are getting ground up by the wheels. And that's how it was started in 1929 as a benefit for the unemployment fund. And we continue that work here tonight. So I'll remind you, there is a link where you can donate. Please feel free to do so. And I would now, it is my great pleasure to introduce a friend of mine who's a wonderful songwriter and just a wonderful human being. Here's Lauren Crane.
So, the song is called The Ballad of Sophie. Sophie was a singer of the snazzy, jazzy kind, with a reputation for flirtation and wiggling her behind. She was laying it thick on the guy who played the bass, when his gal Gladys gets up in Sophie's face. The crowd made a loud, gasping harmony. A catfight in the footlights would be a sight to see. But Sophie was as cool can get. She reached for a pack and lit a cigarette, singing, I ain't got no use for your man. What is brewing there ain't my cup of tea. I ain't got no use for your man. It's your sister who's been keeping me company. Floated like a lead balloon, and someone called known for smelling salts as Gladys began to swoon. Her baby sister proudly come out of the crowd, put her hands upon her hips and spoke a love aloud, singing, she ain't got no use for your man. What is brewing there ain't her cup of tea. She ain't got no use for your man. It's your sister who's been keeping her company. Oh, love, love, love is a fine wine. Don't you keep it in the cellar. Once it's reached its prime, enjoy its full body. Savor the bouquet. Some may sip their Pinot. Oh! Some have a taste for the rosé. And the sisters sing, I ain't got no use for your man. What is brewing there ain't my cup of tea. I ain't got no use for your man. It's your sister who been keeping me company. It's your sister who been keeping me company. Thank you, Buck Dinners. Justice. Awesome.
Since the pandemic hit, students, teachers, and parents have been struggling with virtual learning. Our mental health has suffered as we grieve the loss of our loved ones while dealing with never-ending schoolwork. We, the students of DAM, have created a set of expectations for online learning to make it sustainable for all of us. We call it the Online Bill of Rights.
Students have a right to be comfortable while learning. It is often assumed that if we're not sitting up perfectly straight facing our cameras, that we must not be learning. That's not true. Learning comfortably looks different for everyone. When I was sick with a headache and stomach pain while in virtual class, I put my head down on my desk to be more comfortable while I listened to my teacher's lecture. She immediately called me out, saying that she had to see my face so she could see that I was engaged or I would lose points in the class. I was just trying not to be completely distracted by the pain. Students need an explicit right to be comfortable while learning, because otherwise we just can't learn.
Students have a right to privacy. My district has made it a requirement that students keep their cameras on during instruction. Black students, especially girls, are under more pressure than their non-Black peers to present themselves professionally, which contributes to the school-to-prison pipeline. Muslim students are forced to wear their hijabs in their homes when they usually wouldn't. LGBTQ students are experiencing body dysmorphia, gender, and other dysmorphia issues that harm their well-being. These invasive camera policies and the tracking software on our devices bring the school-to-prison pipeline home. All of us have a right to privacy in our own homes and technology.
Students have the right to an anti-racist curriculum. As a Black student in a predominantly Black district, I've been taught to think my history begins with bondage. Our curriculum praises the white man's history and reduces its students' ancestry and culture to mere paragraphs at the end of a chapter. Each subject is guilty of erasing and prioritizing a racist curriculum over its Black and brown students' lives. Students of color deserve to be taught about ourselves. All students deserve to be taught the truth. We have a right to an anti-racist curriculum that shows our lives matter.
Students have a right to take a break from standardized tests. These tests are overwhelming and do not accurately reflect a student's learning. Many of us are experiencing test anxiety on top of our general anxiety over the pandemic and its effects on our families. Our scores on these tests can impact our future, so worrying about them takes a huge toll on our mental health. Schools are putting more emphasis on teaching to the test rather than actual learning. Students have a right to take a break from standardized testing when we are already focusing on surviving a historic pandemic.
Students have a right to attend school with qualified teachers. Teachers play an essential role in students' lives outside of just learning. Districts that outsource instruction to virtual academies are depriving students of those relationships and knowledge that they get from their teachers. I have had teachers who were not qualified to teach the subject they were assigned. It led to confusion, conflict, and lack of learning. This is not okay and needs to be fixed immediately. Students have a right to be qualified, certified teachers we can rely on.
We
demand
an online
bill
of rights
now.
That was Damn, and before that, that was Lauren Crane. Wonderful music. We are so blessed at the Buck Dinner always to have great music, and our next act, well, I'm just going to introduce them. They don't need much of an introduction around here, but we have Detroit's own A. Spencer Bearfield, and he'll be joined by Janina Norpoth and John Paul Norpoth.
One, two, 1, 2, 3.
Oh Lord, don't let them shoot us. Oh Lord, don't let them stab us. Oh Lord, don't let them choke the life from us. Oh Lord, no more swastikas. supremacist. Boo, Ku Klux Klan with your Jim Crow Klan.
Oh, man. That's Ace Spencer Bearfield, Janina Norpeth, and John Paul Norpeth. Oh, man, it's such wonderful music. I did mention this is a fundraising dinner, and I do want to tell you that if you go to buckdinner.org, you will find many ways to give money to this organization and help the Buck Dinner cause. We're going to go right now to the Buckometer to see how we've done so far, and you can see that we've raised about $10,000 so far. That's enough to buy a couple senators lunch perhaps, but it's not exactly what we're going for so far today. So folks, I'm going to ask you to dig deep. I know things are hard around everywhere, but we're going to take a 15-minute break right now. We're going to have an intermission, allow you to get up and heat up some pizza rolls or whatever it is that you're doing, but mostly so you can have time to go over to buckdinner.org and become involved with the Buck Dinner and make a tangible donation that will help people in your community. So we're going to take a quick break right now. We're going to come back. We got a lot more good music and more good folks, so we hope you'll stick around and join us. And don't forget to check out buckdinner.org. you made it. Way to go. Way to show up. I spend all my nights at the flop house. I spend all my days on the street. I'm looking for work, but I find none. I wish I had something to eat. Soup, soup. They give me a bowl of soup. Soup, soup. They give me a bowl of soup. I spent 20 years in the factory. I did everything I was told. They said I was honest and faithful. Now before I even get old. Soup, soup. They give me a bowl of soup. Soup, soup. They give me a bowl of soup. I saved $15 with my banker to buy me a car and a yacht. I went down to withdraw my fortune, and this is the answer I got. Soup, soup. They give me a bowl of soup. Soup, soup. They give me a bowl of soup. I went off to war for my country. I went out to die or to bleed. I thought that my country would help me, and this was my country's reply. Soup, soup. They give me a bowl of soup. Soup, soup. They give me a bowl of soup. Well, I fell to my knees for my maker. I prayed every night to the Lord. Well, I swore to be faithful forever, and now I've received my reward. Soup, soup. They give me a bowl of soup. Soup, soup. They give me a bowl of soup. They give me a bowl of soup. That's the Soup Song, folks, written by Maurice Sugar, who founded the Sugar Law Center and also founded the Buck Dinner. It's sung every year at the Buck Dinner and elsewhere. We still have the Buckometer going. I want to make sure that you understand that you have the ability to make the Buckometer go up. You're not going to make it go down at this point, but you can increase it. And I want you to think of it. Think of the joy you had when you were a kid, when you used to go to the carnival and take that squirt gun thing from a strange-looking man and try and squirt it into a mouth of a clown so that the balloon would go up there. We're kind of doing that, only the balloon helps people in our community who need it very badly. So please be as generous as you can. We know you will be. And I am very happy to get to a portion of the Buck Dinner right now that I think is really wonderful, because we have such a rich art community in our town and in this area. And we have musicians, and we have folks like the folks from Three Lions Creative here who are doing all the videography and all the technical things so that we can keep the Buck Dinner going this year. And thanks to all you guys for doing that. And we also have many great writers and poets. And I'd like to introduce one of the poets right now. She's actually, it's Detroit's own poet laureate. Here's Gloria Anebhouse.
We will stand, ruthlessly removed from the lands of their birth, brought here against their will. Our ancestors chose to survive, though the days they endured were deadly. Through centuries of degradation, they kept choosing to root themselves in the soil of a legacy that could not be wrenched from them, a memory of how to stand in the earth of their humanity, to hold their footing in the ground of love that sustains everything. They lifted their voices with tenacity and determination. We shall not, we shall not, we shall not be moved. Like a tree planted by the water, we shall not be moved. We have chanted those words in our spirits over generations, longing for freedom, for a place where we could feel the earth throbbing beneath our feet and release the bone-deep trepidations buried in us by centuries of terror. We sang against lynchings by Klansmen, Southern sheriffs, and other so-called guardians of society. Moving north, we believed, ballot in hand, we could join the ranks of the free. We sang. Our singing resounded 50 years ago against hosings and dogs and billy clubs, with our blood running in the streets and in the jails. In the aftermath of assassinations and other horrors, we retreated into the solace and consolation of those words. We will not be moved, we will not be moved, and found the courage to move on. Now, here in our city, Detroit, distinguished by its reliable, ingenious workers, its brilliant political theorists, organizers, and visionaries who have led the nation, by its geniuses in music and other arts who have inspired the world, by the people's pride in home and neighborhood. Here, they intend to dispossess us of the city we know and love. They've already carved out the heart of it for their own pleasure and left the rest to wasteland. By any devious ploy, they intend to take the river and the lakes, all the water. They will take the cultural treasures. They will appropriate the artists, lure them from the path of truth-telling. They've already bought the politicians and the preachers. They will write the lies and hand them to the news editors to print. They've taken our schools and devastated our children. They intend to silence the righteous in a strategic corporate terrorism. They intend to leave us hanging in the air, uprooted, displaced. Who recognizes evil in khaki slacks, Navy sports coat and tie? I wrote this poem when Snyder was still the governor, so that line refers to him. Who recognizes evil in khaki slacks, Navy sports coat and tie? Who can grasp quickly that those appearing so familiar mean to scatter us to the wind, without work, without food, without homes? Who can take that in? Hard to fathom though this new treachery may be, we must be clear-eyed and resolute. We must sing our song again and summon the will to stand. Summon the will to stand like those proud 19th century African men and women in Detroit who, in the face of relentless intimidation, built churches and schools and mutual aid societies and harbored those running to Canada for freedom. Like the sweet Dr. Ossian, who said, "I will defend my home from organized violence." Like our grandfathers and fathers who fought for dignity in the plants and the right to unionize to protect the value of their labor. Like the freedom workers who made the way for us in this city, we must stand. We must keep on choosing to root ourselves in the soil of that legacy that cannot be ripped out of us, a memory of how to stand in the earth of our own humanity, to hold our footing in the ground of love that sustains everything, and stand like a tree planted by the water, like Detroiters of old, like the people of a city planted by the water. We shall not be moved. We will stand. We will stand. We will stand.
There you go, folks. Those are the grantees of the 2020. The grantees, those are the people that are getting the money that is being donated tonight. Those are the kind of things that you can expect the money to go to, and I hope that encouraged you to donate and see the important work that is being done by the Buck Dinner here. You can still have time to go to buckdinner.org. Anytime during this broadcast, you can do it. You can do it after the broadcast. You can do it if you have a time machine. You can go back in time and do it. We don't care. But I am right now going to introduce our next. We're glad to have a great poet here. This is a poem from John Cal Freeman.
Hi, my name's John Freeman, and I'm really excited to be able to share a poem with everyone tonight. The one I'm going to read is called Ars Poetica, while reading the death and life of the Great Lakes. And I wrote it a couple years ago while I was up in Port Austin, Michigan. Rising levels in Saginaw Bay this summer have ruined the wooden stairs leading from the breakwall to the beach. Rust rises to a high water mark not seen here in decades, an inscrutable ecological signpost. A beetle scampers out of mud-dried kelp. A shelf of stones 30 yards out veils a precipitous drop into green depths. The stench of life is everywhere. My mother-in-law tells a story of coming here as a girl and having to shovel mounds of alewives from the beach before swimming. This book describes the lake bed as a field cobbled with invasive mussel shells and refers to those zebras and quaggas flushed from the ballast tanks of freighters as biological filtering machines that trick us into thinking the lakes are well. A middle-aged woman rafts out beyond the sandbar, and her husband swims to deliver her a drink, some sugary rum concoction in a plastic water bottle, his ratty ponytail flat against his sweaty, water-kissed skin. Off to the southwest, strokes of windmills mimic the bathers soaking up sun and water in their plastic rafts. Seagulls bark at each other in the foam, plucking gobies from breakwater, wounding them before dropping them in sand. Bouts of animal behavior, this propensity for pure fun, different than joy or love, deleterious as mussels straining algae from fresh water. Boats cruise the clear as glass surface. Poetry, despite what has been written in the shadow of murky etymologies in unkept epics during the dull regenerative paces that compose our human time, is little more than a series of absurd acts of love we could never plan out in the morning or the day before at dusk. A chin cupped in a palm, a kiss, a cocktail weighted through the combers.
Hi, everyone. I'm so glad to be here with you all this year at our 92nd Buck Dinner. I'm Julie Hurwitz, a longstanding headhunter and also vice president of the Michigan Detroit chapter of the National Lawyers Guild. In the face of the pandemic and the incursion of fascism in this country, we have also witnessed a historic uprising of anti-racist, anti-capitalist, and environmental justice activism that is on the cusp of turning this country around. Thanks to the crucial financial support provided by the Buck Dinner, the NLG and its many allies have played key roles in helping to support this movement in Michigan in a year unlike any we have ever seen. The NLG has been there, on the ground, in the streets, and in the courts, vigorously pursuing justice for the movement and alongside the amazing activists in the streets. After George Floyd was viciously murdered last May and mass protests erupted around the country, here in Detroit, the large, overwhelmingly peaceful demonstrations were met with a brutal response from the Detroit Police Department. The Guild sprang into action, joining with 5 phenomenal, predominantly Black-led organizations to form the Detroit Coordinated Defense Coalition. Working alongside National Conference of Black Lawyers, the Detroit Justice Center, the Neighborhood Defender Service of Detroit, Wayne County Criminal Defense Bar, and Michigan Liberation. As a result of the hard work of the Guild and our coalition brothers and sisters, as well as our amazing Legal Observer Coordinator, Curtis Renee, and our equally amazing NLG Administrator, Verbena Lee, and the scores of amazing volunteers, we have had boots on the ground since day one, training over 700 legal observers, initiating a hotline to provide immediate arrestee support, mobilizing a well-oiled criminal defense team, which has to date obtained dismissals of over 350 criminal charges, with more to come, and undertaking the historic civil rights litigation currently underway against the City of Detroit, Mayor Duggan, Police Chief Craig, and the scores of police officers who brutalized the protesters who had the audacity to protest police brutality. During this litigation, we have obtained historic court orders putting a halt to the blatant constitutional violations being committed by the Detroit Police Department. Of course, the City of Detroit, having lost every attempt to shut this movement down, has turned around and filed an unprecedented, frivolous SLAPP suit counterclaim against Detroit Will Breathe and the individual plaintiffs we represent. We have filed a motion to dismiss that counterclaim, and we are confident that we will win. I am also incredibly proud to report that the NLG was invited to help found the Coalition for Police Transparency and Accountability. Created after Hakeem Littleton's brutal execution by Detroit police in July 2020, CPTA is now a leading force in this community for racial, social, and economic justice. And it has in its ranks over 15 highly respected organizations. Too many to list all here, but just a few: the National Conference of Black Lawyers, the Detroit Council of Elders, the Boggs Center, the Neighborhood Defenders Services, Detroit Justice Center, the Wayne County Criminal Defense Bar, the Keisha Foundation, Moratorium Now, ACLU, MCHR, among others. Working vigorously to keep the pressure on for an independent investigation of the Hakeem Littleton killing, as well as steadfastly working on all fronts to shed light on police brutality and systemic racism in our communities. The Lawyers Guild also has active law student chapters at every one of our law school campuses. And most exciting, we have to announce a new chapter that has formed in Western Michigan from Kalamazoo, Lansing, and Grand Rapids, activist lawyers in those cities. And here in Detroit, I'm proud to report that our board, the leadership of this chapter, is transforming, and it's long overdue. We know how important it is for our leadership to better reflect those who are on the front lines, those most impacted and those closest to the solutions. We now have on our board Black, Arab, Latino, youth, elder, gay, and straight representation, and we are dedicated to continuing to work to struggle against racism and all forms of oppression. The National Lawyers Guild is so proud to be among those in the forefront of providing direct legal support to the progressive movement for social, racial, and economic justice during this historic time, where we are at a crossroads. Will we have fascism, or will we have democracy or democratic socialism? We could not be doing this work without the support from this amazing Buck Dinner. See you in the streets, see you in the courts, and hopefully next year at this time, see you at Buck Dinner 2022. Good night, all.
Thank you, Julie Hurwitz. Oh, Julie's wonderful. I know Julie from the Buck Dinner and various places, and I want to mention, since Julie was talking for the National Lawyers Guild, due to the efforts of the National Lawyers Guild in Detroit and many other organizations, just recently, this week, the suit that was the countersuit filed by the city of Detroit against the Detroit Will Breathe protesters was dismissed. The charges were dismissed against all protesters, and it was found that the suit was without merit. I would like to repeat that part, that the suit by the city of Detroit was determined by the judge to be without merit. And thank you for the efforts of the National Lawyers Guild and for all who stood up, because when we stand up together, that's when we win. Speaking of which, our friend Billy Bragg has let us know a simple definition of the word solidarity. Now, solidarity is empathy plus action. It's great to have empathy, but without action, we're not getting a whole lot done. So the Buck Dinner, we know you're empathetic. If you are able to put your empathy into action and give a little solidarity in the form of money, we're going to be okay. We've got the Buckometer going, but I also want to give you an opportunity to act in solidarity with working people around, like the folks in Bessemer, Alabama, Amazon workers at the Retail and Wholesale Department Store Union who are trying to unionize the Amazon Center down there. That would be a huge organizing effort, and we all need to support them because if they win, it's going to be good for our country. It's going to be good for all of us. You know that. I like doing the Buck Dinner because I don't have to explain why it's good if people win strikes. But in a little more local note, I want to let you know that in Redford Township, 507 up workers are on strike this week because of unfair labor practices. You can go to the Teamsters Local 1337.com. Someone will put that in the comments, I'm sure, but it's Teamsters Local 1337.com, and you can get on there and you can find out information about their strike and how you can support them. Because folks, if anything this last year has shown us, I mean, we've known this in Detroit longer than most people have, in my estimation, in this country, because solidarity in Detroit has existed longer than it has in many places in our country. We have examples like the 1937 sit-down strike and the 1932 hunger march in Detroit, where people stood up for themselves, and it didn't always end pretty, and a lot of them were hurt, but to not stand up was even worse. And we are all standing on the shoulders of these folks who came before us, and we benefit greatly by the sacrifices that they made. And it's our turn now. It's our turn now. So I want to sing you this song. I wrote this song for working people everywhere because I grew up in Detroit and the area surrounding it, and I have been fortunate in my lifetime to grow up in a union family. I'm a third-generation union member. My grandfather was a charter member at Local 600 at the Rouge plant, and my father was an iron worker for 35 years, Local 25. He's still very active in his union, even though he's retired. Because when working people get together and fight together, that's when progress is made. And now we're at a time where we really need to get together, folks. So I've been playing this song around. Played it all around this country. Played it a bit in Europe. I didn't know if it would translate over to places outside of Detroit, and I've been very heartened by the response of this song by people all over the world, because it turns out there are working people everywhere. If you don't believe me, look around you. If you're in a house, somebody built it. Well, I wrote this song for my dad and my grandpa, so here it goes. My daddy worked the high steel with the wind, the weld, and the climb. He's got red-winged boots, his jeans tucked in, a worker on a picket line. When the work bell rang, he answered every time. My daddy worked the high steel, his daddy worked the line. He said he was a greaser, jamming Jerry Lee in his 55. The war had been won, he was an only son, the whole world felt so alive. Met the girl that he'd marry at the grill by the Diamond Five, and he got a union card. He had a car to drive. And I learned from him that working ain't no sin, 'cause working people built your town, whatever town you're in. And they lost their hearing to the clanging beams of that shrieking shop floor wine. Daddy worked the high steel, his daddy worked the line. times get tough, us times will do. Like a Mickey Lolich fastball riding up and in to make it 2-2. He always digs back in, 'cause that's all there is to do. And he'd stand for me, he'd do the same for you. So you can quote Ayn Rand, or promise that you'll take us back in time. So you can open up a factory turning Bible quotes into campaign lines. But mister, if you're wondering why I don't believe you when you're lying, my daddy worked the high steel, his daddy worked the line. And on it goes, and everybody knows that working people built this land. It didn't sprout from a pot of gold. So forgive me, Mr. Banker, if I don't hear your endless crying. My daddy worked the high steel, his daddy worked the line. Well, I ain't smart, but I tell you what I know. If you ever try and tell my old man what to do, he's gonna tell you where to go. With love in his heart, steel in his spine, my daddy worked the high steel, his daddy worked the line. My daddy worked the high steel, his daddy worked the line. Thanks, folks. Thanks, Pop. I'm standing in this room looking at all these photos of UAW presidents. There's a couple of weird shadows on the wall where frames used to be. I don't know what's up with that. But also, just very glad to be at Local 160, the UAW local, and I'd like to thank the local here and President David Small for opening up the Union Hall for us and allowing us to perform the Buck Dinner and making sure that this happened. And I'm going to turn it over now, folks. We have a special treat for you. Pontiac's finest punk mariachi band. Here they are, Pancho Villa's Skull.
Hey, what's up? We're Pancho Villa's Skull from Pontiac, Michigan. We just want to thank Buck Dinner for having us back again. This is our first song. It's called Contradicciones. Ready?
Él vino a los Estados Unidos buscando una vida mejor para sus hijos y él mismo. Pero lo que encontró fue odio y más odio. El gabacho necesita su trabajo, pero no le quiere. ¿Por qué tantas contradicciones? ¿Por qué tantas contradicciones? Padre, perdónalos porque no saben lo que hacen. Soy un hombre buscando las promesas de Dios. El gabacho necesita su trabajo, pero no le quiere. ¿Por qué tantas contradicciones? ¿Por qué tantas contradicciones? Dicen que estoy robando su trabajo, pero no quieren trabajar como yo. Dicen que quejar. Sé lo bueno que quieres ver en el mundo. Sé lo bueno que quieres ver en el mundo. Sé lo bueno que quieres ver en el mundo. Sé lo bueno que quieres ver en el mundo. Hagamos más que mirar, hagamos más que hablar, hagamos más que quejar.
All right. This is a public service announcement to anybody watching this. It's the trial of Derek Chauvin. It's the trial of Derek Chauvin. This song is called No Mas. It's about how people need to be held accountable for murder.
Protesta, protesta, protesta la matanza. 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 Aquí estamos otra vez, hablando de otro asesinato en las calles, porque se murió. Ignorancia. Protesta, protesta, protesta la matanza. 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 Black, white, and brown, we all need to figure it out. En los ojos de Dios todo es igual. Black, white, and brown, we all need to figure it out. En los ojos de Dios todo es igual. Protesta, protesta, protesta la matanza. 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 Víctor Jara vive en estas palabras. Zapata vive en estas palabras. Víctor Jara vive en estas palabras. Zapata vive en estas palabras. Protesta, protesta, protesta la matanza. 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 Protesta, protesta, protesta la matanza.
All right, thank you again for having us be a part of this. It's an honor to be invited back. Once again, we are Pancho Villascull from Pontiac, Michigan. It's going to be our last song. It's called Sangre Migrante.
Tú ves mi piel y me dices, regresa a mi país, pero no sabías que yo nací aquí, porque mi sangre no fue como tu sangre, porque mi sangre no fue como tu sangre. Todos tenemos sangre inmigrante, no tienes el derecho para elegir quién se queda y quién care, 'cause we're all global citizens, we all breathe the same air. And I don't know how you got here, and I don't really care, 'cause we're all global citizens, we all breathe the same air. And I don't know how you got here, and I don't really care, 'cause we're all global citizens, we all breathe the same air. And I don't know how you got here, and I don't really care, 'cause we're all global citizens, we all breathe the same air. Todos tenemos sangre inmigrante, no tienes el derecho para elegir quién se queda y quién sale, porque todos tenemos sangre inmigrante.
Thank you.
Pancho Villa's Skull, folks. Oh, man. I don't know if there are other punk mariachi bands in Pontiac, but without question, they are the finest. It's quite true. I wish we could be in person all together for this, because that's the kind, the dancing part of the Buck Dinner. I know there were people dancing at home, I'm certain, and we miss being together. We hope you'll keep safe, and we will be able to gather next year. I'm going to play a song for you now that I think is really important in these times. It was written by a guy I knew named Guy Clark, who's a great songwriter from Texas. And but I've been thinking about America, and especially these last few years, and what it means, what America means, or what it means to be American. I know we all have different immigrant stories, but unless you're native to this land, we're all immigrants here, some willingly, some unwillingly. And all our stories are a little different, I'm sure, but this song really resonates with me and my family story, even though I'm third generation American. My grandfather was not. My grandfather was born here, but this is a song I think to keep in mind. I've traveled the world a bit. People are wondering what's going on in America right now. We've been historically the place where people put their children on their backs and walk through terrible conditions to get here, because they know this is a place where they can get a fair shake, and we've kind of fallen from that, and we got to get it back. So I think an important way to remember where we need to go is to remember where we've been, and this is a beautiful song. Old Ellis Island was swarming like a scene from a costume ball, decked out in the colors of Europe and on fire with the hope of it all. There my father's own father stood huddled with the hungry and tired and scared turn of the century pilgrims, bound by the dream that they shared. They were standing in lines just like cattle. They were poked, sorted, and shoved. Some are one desk away from sweet freedom. Some are torn from the ones that they love. Through this swarming Tower of Babel came a young man confused and alone, determined and bound for America, carrying everything that he owned. Well, sometimes when I look in my grandfather's immigrant eyes, see that day reflected. I can't hold my feelings inside. And I see starting with nothing and working hard all of his life. Don't take it for granted. Say grandfather's immigrant eyes. Well, he'd smile, stare out the window, but his eyes, they were still just as clear as the day he sailed into the harbor and come ashore on the Isle of Tears. Well, my grandfather's days, they were numbered, but I won't let his memory die. He gave me the gift of this country and the look in his immigrant eyes. Well, sometimes when I look in my grandfather's immigrant eyes, I see that day reflected. I can't hold my feelings inside. And I see starting with nothing and working hard all of his life. And don't take it for granted. Say grandfather's immigrant eyes. Don't you take it for granted. Say grandfather's immigrant eyes. Yeah, we sometimes I look through old photos, you know. Do that sometime. Find old photos of your grandparents, of the people who came over here from wherever it is your family is from, and look at their eyes. They knew it wasn't a game. And I think don't take it for granted is the best advice that I think we can give Americans right now, because we feel pretty secure here that we're not going to feel any of the pains that the rest of the world has felt over time. But that may or may not be true, and it's up to us to decide. How we doing on the buckometer, fellas? I'm going to go over to the buckometer here. We're up to 30,000. That's pretty good, you know. We're up to, we could probably buy a couple senators brunch at this point, which is good. We can help a lot of people who aren't used to eating that way, though. Thanks to everyone who's been donating. We appreciate your generosity. We know everyone's doing what they can. If you're able to do more, you can go to buckdinner.org. There are places to donate. I'm going to play another song for you now. It's kind of a soundtrack. I call it a donation soundtrack, as it were. This is the first song I ever could play on the guitar and sing at the same time. I don't know if there's anybody out there that doesn't know this song. But it was written in 1940 by Woody Guthrie after he had traveled across our country. And on the radio, Kate Smith was singing God Bless America on the whole trip. And, God Bless America was written in a penthouse during the Great Depression. And Woody was looking around and wondering if the promise that is America was really being fulfilled. And this song was originally titled God Blessed America for Me. But Woody made it a little more inclusive, and I implore you all to sing along if you'd like to. I think it's very important. It's important to remember who's in charge of our country. We can, we don't elect leaders. We elect people who are supposed to do what we tell them to do. The sooner we remember that, the sooner things are going to get done. Well, I roamed that ribbon highway. I saw above me the endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. I said this land was made for you and me. I roamed and rambled, now follow my footsteps through the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts. And all around me a voice was calling. It said this land was made for you and me. Come on. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. The sun came shining as I was strolling, all the wheat fields waving and the dust clouds rolling. A voice was chanting as the fog was lifting. It said this land was made for you and me. There was a sign there, there was a wall there, and on that wall it said no trespassing. But on the other side it didn't say nothing. And that side was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, redwood forest to the Gulf Stream water. This land was made for you and me. Bright sunny morning in the shadow of a steeple by the relief office, I saw my people. They stood there hungry and I stood there asking, was this land made for you and me? Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking life's freedom highway. Nobody living could ever make me turn back, because this land, it was made for you and me. Sing like free people. This land's your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, redwood forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Yeah, friends, this land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me. Remember that. Please remember that. All right. All right, folks. We're about to bring the 92nd Buck Dinner to a close. It has been an honor to be the MC for this fine event, this historic event. It's amazing. I think it's a testament to the commitment and the resilience of the Detroit area and the working people here that something like this can go on for 92 years on the sheer will of committed individuals that get together in solidarity to help each other and to help everyone, because that's how we're all getting through, folks. We're all going to get through, or ain't none of us gonna. And now I'm going to play one last song for us. This is how we end all the, at every UAW event I've ever been to, and we're in a UAW hall, and this is how we always end the Buck Dinner. I want to thank Barbara Ingalls and all the headhunters out there who put their tables together to help us raise money for this great cause, and I want to thank all of you in particular, especially those who've donated, but thanks to everyone. We understand that not everyone is in a position to donate, and we appreciate you all tuning in and the work that you do as you can to help people around you. It's been a crazy year. Here they are with masks, and feel free. This song we usually sing, there's usually about 1,000 people at the Buck Dinner, so there's usually about 1,000 people with their fists in the air while we sing this song. So I want you to feel free to sing along with your fists in the air. I know very well there are at least 2 people in Paso Robles, California who will be singing with their fists in the air. So we got one chance to get this one, folks. We love you, Marianne. Here we go, folks. Forever is forever. When the union's inspiration through the workers' blood does run, there can be no power greater anywhere beneath the sun. But what force on earth is weaker than the meager strength of one? The union makes us strong. Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever. The union makes us strong. It is we who plowed the prairies, built the cities where they trade, dug the mines, built the workshops, endless miles of railroad laid. Now we stand outcast and starve amidst the wonders that we made, but the union makes us strong. Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong. Sorry about that. Well, they have taken untold trillions that they never toiled to earn, but without our brain and muscle, not a single wheel would turn. We can break their haughty power, earn our freedom when we learn. The union makes us strong. Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever. The union makes us strong. In our hands there rests the power greater than their hoarded gold, bigger than the might of atoms magnified 1,000-fold. We can bring to birth a new world from the ashes of the old, for the union makes us strong. Everybody now. Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong. Remember, folks, solidarity is empathy plus action. One more time. Solidarity forever, solidarity forever, solidarity forever, for the union makes us strong. Be good to each other, folks. Hopefully we can gather next year. Be well.